Time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Bud and Ross both with us in studio. Ross, we'll start with you since you're our special guest here today in studio. Congress and the state capitol in Austin both in upheaval over these sexual harassment claims. The moment has finally arrived to address some of these. What do you expect to happen realistically?
I think realistically this has become a political liability or a political advantage depending on which side you're on, and we're going to hear a lot more about this as we go into this election year and as we go in Texas into the 2019 legislative session. I don't think this is a blip on the screen. I think this is going to be a trend, and we're going to talk about it for a while.
Will it cost some people their jobs?
Yeah, it will, and it probably should. I mean, there's a lot going on at the Texas Capitol. There has been for years and years, and they're finally kind of dealing with the problem, or looking like they might deal with the problem.
Bud, you've seen this too in your time down there.
The important point is that it is bipartisan. We're talking about it happening in both parties. We know what's happened in both parties in Austin. Right. The public's reaction, though, isn't really about either party. It's just about how pitiful this is on the part of everybody. Right. It drives everybody away from politics. It drives voters away, drives candidates away, makes it just look like a big stench pit in Austin.
What was your stat? Before we went on, you mentioned a stat about the number of women versus men.
Yeah, in the history of the Texas legislature, there have been 5,415 men and 155 women.
Wow.
In the whole history of the legislature.
That's an incredible number.
That is changing. We saw that change in the Virginia primary and some of the other elections last week.
But let's talk about Senator Cornyn filing that bipartisan bill to crack down on the federal background checks. What happened after the massacre 2 weeks ago in Sutherland Springs? 4 Republican co-authors, 4 Democratic co-authors on there too. Is it going to change anything?
This is something that the Senate got together on, and they have a bill that will force the military to report domestic violence cases, court-martials properly. But some states actually have state laws saying that mental health records have to be reported. Domestic violence cases, which are misdemeanors, have to be reported by the county clerks. Sometimes those don't get into the system. Some states have laws requiring reporting, just like you have to report child abuse, you have to report sex offenders, everything else. We'll see whether Texas takes that on.
The military was supposed to do this to start with, but didn't do it. How do you make sure these bureaucrats essentially follow the law?
You got to tighten it up. This shooter's history should have prevented him from buying any weapons and did not, and it was a fault of the system. So I think Cornyn's going after the system on this one. He's trying to find ways to answer the question you just asked me.
Ross, the other big political news here too, a Christian TV producer named Bruce Jacobson, he's running against Ted Cruz. He has ties to President Trump. Should the Cruz campaign be concerned at all about him right now?
One of the interesting things about Ted Cruz is that he came out of nowhere and beat David Dewhurst, and he's not going to let that happen to him. You can see in his campaigning already against Beto O'Rourke of El Paso that he's going to take all challengers seriously. I don't think he's in any danger in particular in the Republican primary, but you never know.
Jacobson has Huckabee and Santorum on his side, he says, so we'll see how much money he's able to raise, how strong his campaign is, and it may come down to who's a better preacher.
We will see. Gentlemen, thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching as well. Hope you and your family have a good Thanksgiving, and Bud, Ross, and I will see you again next week.